Okay, we're going to begin now. Please start recording, Michelle. Welcome to the webinar. Now, I'm going to be guiding us through a 1-hour webinar, and the purpose of the webinar is to introduce you to a campaign that we're going to launch as early as April. It depends on a few things, and we'll describe that. And the campaign, the philosophy here at the Institute is that we don't intend to impose a campaign and unilaterally decide what it should be and send it on to the world. In this case, we want to create a campaign together. We want to create it with you, create it with coalition partners, and make it most effective. So this is an early vision of what we're doing and an opportunity for you to evaluate how you would like to participate and if you'd like to participate. And you'll be able to see some more as we go forward. The current scenario related to GMOs is that babies are most at risk, and that infant formula companies and baby food companies are also quite vulnerable to consumer concerns. There was a Wall Street Journal article a number of years ago, probably 1999 or so, where it described how a fax from Charles Margulis from Greenpeace sent to Gerber asking if they were using genetically engineered ingredients in their baby food created a flurry of activity and resulted in a policy to avoid GMOs in baby food. Now, I don't believe Gerber has maintained that policy, but that's how sensitive they were at a time when GMOs were a buzzword, that there had just been a rejection in Europe, and they were concerned that a rejection against GMOs was going to happen in the United States. And obviously, the idea that babies are eating dangerous GMOs is a rallying cry. Now, there are 3 companies that make most of the infant formula, and that's 92% of the market, just 3 companies. And they use GMO soy, corn, and genetically modified bovine growth hormone treated milk. And the baby food also will include sugar from sugar beets, zucchini, corn, squash, and canola. Now, from a strategic standpoint, babies are a natural rallying cry for engaging the public to protect those who are most vulnerable. They don't have their own voice, and there's a biological programming for people to protect the young in humans and in a variety of animals. Now, it's appropriate to protect kids because they're most at risk both in the fetus stage, in the quick developing stage, in the fast-growing stage as an infant. And so what we want to do is we want to alert parents to that and see that that appropriate concern about GMOs then spreads to parents of older kids and through society. And we want to put pressure on the 3 companies that produce the infant formula and also baby food, but the 3 that produce infant formula are Abbott Labs, Mead Johnson, and Nestle Gerber. And that we think that by converting them to non-GMO, that can provide a very fast-paced start for the tipping point. I also want to welcome the spies from Abbott Labs, Mead Johnson, and Nestle Gerber and Monsanto's PR company to our webinar. We would expect that you would want to see what we're doing, and we're happy to share. Now, it's true that low-income families have less access to non-GMO products. There's a program called the WIC program that offers only GMO formula to 2 million mothers for free. And another 2 million buy it, but the vast majority is genetically modified. Now, the other options for parents are to buy organic infant formula to make their own. And then there's baby food. And it's interesting that Beech-Nut seeks non-GMO products for fruits, vegetables, and grains in their baby food, but Gerber does not. So we're happy to promote Beech-Nut as a company that makes provisions to avoid using GMOs. This will certainly drive market share increase to Beech-Nut and drive Gerber to go back to their non-GMO position as they had been in years past. Now, the purpose of this webinar, as I mentioned, is to organize for the launch, for you to provide feedback on our materials, and to get involved. Now, our primary focus is young children, where older children is an additional focus, and it may be rolled out, officially rolled out as the primary focus in Phase 2, depending on how our success is in Phase 1. I say we're going to launch in April at the earliest, with California as the primary concentration. As many of you know, there will be an initiative on the ballot in November for mandatory labeling of GMOs. And this will mean that the whole GMO issue will be very high profile in California. We'll have the benefit of hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers who will be getting petitions signed, and the petitions have to be handed in on April 18th. We don't want to distract from the petition gathering activities, and at the same time we want to give those who've been involved in gathering petitions, signatures, the opportunity to continue working on the campaign in meaningful ways immediately after the signature gathering phase is over. And so we're hoping to time the launch of this campaign with the finishing of the signature gathering, and if it happens to come earlier than April 18th, we may be ready to push it at that time. Now, I'd like to ask you where you're from, and I want to tell you how you can do this. You can raise your hand. If you look on your control panel in the upper right, don't do it yet, you'll see a hand. Now, if you click the hand, the direction of the hand will change, and then your hand will be raised on my screen. So I want to ask you, all of those who are from California, click your hand once, and we will see how many people are from California. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people from California. Now, for those 6 people, I'm going to clear all the hands right now. Now, click it if you're from the West Coast other than California. Please click. Everyone who's from the West Coast other than California, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 52. Okay, I'm going to clear that. Now, how many of you are from the East Coast? Raise your hand. Click your hand. A lot of people from the East Coast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, I'm clearing. 12. Now, if you're from the South, please raise your hand. 1. Oh yeah, our staff member. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And now I'm going to lower the hands. And raise your hand if you're from the Midwest or the middle of the country, or other than that, than what I've already described. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And other countries, raise your hand if you're from another country. All right, we've got at least one person from another country. All right. How many of you are, let me lower the hands, how many of you are males? Not females, males. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Males. Okay, so the rest are females. We have the vast majority are females. How many of you are, let's see, parents? Let me first close it. I knocked everyone's hands down. Now raise your hand if you're a parent. Okay, I would say the vast majority here are parents. That's very good news. I'm closing it. How many are healthcare practitioners? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, excellent. How many are spies for the industry? Raise your hand. Any spies for the industry? We got 2, 3. Welcome, spies. All right. I actually have called, we've called the 3 infant formula companies, and I wanted to tell them all about this in a private call and let them know about the coming tipping point and see what they can do to protect their market share. We're not, by the way, enemies of food companies. They're not our enemies. They just haven't learned what we know. And we don't treat them as enemies. We want them to be allies. So that's where we're at. Okay. Now, the way we're going to conduct the campaign is through grassroots mobilization, which will be the easiest for most people to connect with. We're going to build a coalition of organizations for both endorsements and distribution of materials. That's another way that everyone can get involved. We want to do media, interviews, articles, and events, social media support, and educational materials. Now, we're going to create videos. We're doing that right now, and brochures and letters and posters, bumpers, bumper stickers, buttons, and T-shirts. I want to create a magazine style or a booklet style, long-form educational piece, a PowerPoint section to add to our speaker training, and we already have about 750 trained speakers, and we're going to give them the module for including the focus on baby food and infant formula. So we would like to invite you to participate in the campaign as well as give feedback on the materials and strategies. So I'm just going to go briefly into the talking points, and these talking points are in addition to the standard talking points that we have at our institute, which talk about the corruption at the FDA, the rigged research, the fired scientists, etc. So this is an additional talking point list. 1, there are serious health problems emerging in our children, and we know the list: ADD, ADHD, asthma, diabetes, autism, etc. And that food is implicated. And GMOs are the most radical change in our food supply, and their introduction corresponds with the worsening of many of the problems in U.S. health statistics. Now, fetuses and infants are the most vulnerable stages for children to have to get impacted by the potential toxins, allergens, and nutritional problems related to GMOs. And doctors and scientists who've reviewed the GMO research are alarmed, and many now prescribe non-GMO diets, especially to children and pregnant moms, and I'll add also to couples even before they conceive. And many doctors and their patients are reporting dramatic improvements when GMOs are eliminated. It's amazing to hear this directly. It's absolutely amazing to hear when there's very dramatic results. Now, the action steps are to protect babies from infant formula and baby food, and let others know of the dangers, and seek non-GMO brands, in fact, for everyone in your family, and to ask the companies to remove GMOs, and ask the government WIC program to do the same. So that's the basic talking points. Now, if you have a microphone, then you are able to, I can turn your microphone on if you raise your hand, and I want to just get some feedback, and we have staff members on the call who will take notes, as to help us in our messaging. Now, when I get feedback, I like to play dumb. I don't want to give you all the details of what we've already created, because you may think, oh, we've got it handled, but we're really looking for your feedback here. So what was the key message or experience that got you motivated into non-GMO? And I'd like you to, if you'd like to take a microphone time and share your experience, but make it very brief. Make it just what it is, what the point was, and then so others can share, because we have a lot of things to cover and we won't have a lot of time. So raise your hand if you'd like me to unmute your microphone so you can share what was the key message or experience that got you into non-GMO thinking, so we can think about adding that to our materials, especially if it was not part of our talking points that you just heard. Anyone want to share? Okay. Tim Walters, I have unmuted you. So do you have a microphone? Try and speak now. Tim Walters? All right, you're not able to speak, so either you're muted or your microphone's not working. So you work on that. I see Dane Schrum. Okay, why don't you see if you can speak. Dane? Bob Howard. Bob Howard ordained from?
Yes, this is Bob Howard. I have many friends who have many health-related issues, and I am an ex-Army medic. I am convinced that our food source is at the base of it.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Bob. Now, this raises a point that we'll get into later when I ask for testimonials and quotes. You may want to come up with a juicy quote. As an Army medic, you have seen ... That's something we can use in our materials. Anything else, Bob, you want to
add? No, but I appreciate your being out there on point to get this out into the public's knowledge. I have gone through my entire address book and forwarded your information to those who I care about.
Beautiful. That's another action step that we'll be talking about. So you've just demonstrated two things that we'll be talking about later in the call that people are doing spontaneously anyway, and we'd like to make sure it gets organized so everyone can take advantage of everyone else's good ideas. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, Gretchen, I have unmuted you. See if your phone, if your microphone is working, Gretchen. I've done this before, and by the way, this is not uncommon where people raise their hand and turn out that they cannot ask the question. Okay, let's see. While you're trying, let's see if there's anyone else that would like to add their hand. Nancy Brown, do you have a working microphone? Can you answer the question?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I live in Minneapolis. I guess the biggest thing for me is I have 3 children. Their ages 1, 3, and 6, just turned 6, 3 boys. The thing is that there are questions. What I'm concerned about is there is no scientific proof that they're safe, and there are some questions as to whether they're safe or not. So the fact that it's not known makes me feel like it's just a no-brainer that it should be labeled. And also the fact that anytime they're labeled anywhere, people don't want to buy them. And the food industry doesn't want them labeled, so what are they afraid of? You know, if they're so safe, prove they're safe. Otherwise, I think it's a deserve-to-know thing. Another thing I just want to say is the idea that there's a dramatic improvement. I have never heard that. I don't doubt that many people have told you that story. I do wonder how that would strike the average person who doesn't have that in their experience, and whether that would make them somewhat skeptical. And if I may add one other comment, would that be all right?
Please.
Living in Minnesota, I recently discovered that the Cornucopia Institute's survey of natural claiming cereals showed that a number of the cereals that were in my cupboard that I buy at a local organic co-op were loaded with GMOs, and I was really upset to learn about that. I kind of feel like cereals, actually, my idea is that cereals are the way in for parents. I was a breastfeeding mother, and I think I still am. I think a lot of parents, mothers especially, who really are focused on the health of their babies often do these days try to breastfeed, at least for a while. I have actually never used formula myself. Not that that is not a really critical issue, and many, many babies in this country would benefit from it. I just wonder if some of the parents who are most likely activists perhaps are not parents who have ever used formula. So my thinking was that breakfast cereal is the way to get to parents, and that would be the way to get to me, and I'd like to see all the breakfast cereal labeled.
Very good. Thank you for that great feedback. Appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to put you back on mute. I'm seeing some questions that have been typed in, so I'm going to respond and let you know what this feedback is. That increase in food allergies in pediatric practice. We certainly want to talk individually with any pediatricians and any health care professionals that work specifically with children. So please do get in touch with us. We want to know who you are. You're extremely valuable to us in this campaign. And yes, food allergies in pediatric practices is something we've heard others comment. The fact that major countries around the world have banned GMOs, and my work to expose this information that our government has kept from us is what got me involved in this effort, okay? Another basic revelation that GMO food causes disease, that our meat industries replace real feed with GMO feed, and the animals have to be dosed with drugs because of their illnesses. I read an article in the past that warned about the damaging effects of consuming GMOs, such as organ damage. And there's a question, are there recent studies on that? I'm not going to get so much into the details of the talking points this time. We're going to have another webinar in January, and we're going to be producing materials that you'll be able to get the information from. Someone's asking a question. All right, so I'm going to put the hands down and go on to the next slide here because we've got a lot to cover. We'll have more opportunities to do feedback in a few minutes. All right, so we want to get an idea, in fact, right now, naming the campaign. Now, I made a mistake in typing up this slide. It should be responsibletechnology.org/baby food. So I'd like you, if you are at a computer, to go to type in responsibletechnology.org/baby food, and that is a page where you can provide us with feedback directly that we will compile and use for the betterment of our materials. So if you can open another tab on your browser and type in responsibletechnology.org/baby food, we would like you either during the call if it's convenient and you're not distracted, or after the call especially, to answer some of those questions. And one of the questions we want to ask is, what would be the name of the campaign that you would love to see? Now, the campaign default title is Protecting Babies from GMO Baby Food and Infant Formula. But it can also, there's groups around the country that have done, and around the world, that have done very great things with Mothers For or Mothers Against, like Mothers Against Drunk Driving or Parents, etc. There can be localized groups like Marin Moms For this or Against that. So I would like you to also enter your, if you put in a response in the questions, then if you can, cut and paste it and put it also into the page on our website, if you can, so that we can use that. Let me see here. Mothers for Healthy, Safe Foods. I'm seeing that. Anything else you want to share? Just type it into the question area, and I'll read that. But for sure, go on our website and enter stuff. I also noticed that there's some additional questions here. I speak on GMOs in the LA area. How can you simply explain what GMOs are in a way that expresses concerns, threats, and issues easily for the non-initiated? That's covered in our speaker training course. It's an 8-hour course, and the first webinar, 2 hours, talks about the short form presentation and the 5 basic components of that presentation with examples and chance to practice. Someone also said that they got involved with GMOs because of the assault on organic food. GMOs take away the choice to eat organic foods. Good to know. Another person said, I'm an expert in the field of nutrition and a registered dietitian working in large school districts. We certainly want to talk to you personally. That's from me to you. I am not comfortable at all teaching and telling young students to eat your fruits and vegetables when it's exactly that that's getting them sick in the first place. Obesity is an epidemic we can see. Consequences of consuming GMO foods is an inevitable epidemic, not visible and just as destructible. Thank you, and Michelle, for that. You should know that as far as fruits and vegetables go, there are very few that are genetically modified. Only corn, Hawaiian papaya, zucchini, and crookneck squash. Those are the only fruits and vegetables that are GMO. Someone suggested for the name, always positive, for instead of against. For GMO-free, for instance, seems to work psychologically as attractive as opposed to against GMOs. Another one, protecting babies from GMOs. Moms say no to GMOs. Babies first. Ban GMOs. Healthy babies don't eat GMOs. Now we're getting into slogans. Thank you very much for that. Okay, give me some more on our website. Baby and Me, GMO-free. That's cool. Here's another person. I'm a co-founder of GMO-free Independent Farmer, Artisan, and Consumer Coalition, certified CHC writer, speaker on whole and real foods and GMO-free foods. I quote you often, have used your PowerPoint. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to go on to the next slide. So what we want now are specific names of potential sponsors. Now, our magazine size material is going to have advertisements, and that will help us pay for the printing and distribution. So if you have we're going to go to everyone who's selling baby food in our non-GMO shopping guide, of course, and If you have others that you think should be contacted, please put that list. I don't need to get them now, but put them on our website. We want organic and healthy children's products. It could be, organic cotton Snugglies. Who knows what it is? It could be medical and service organizations. So anyone who could provide us with advertising or financial support, please give us those ideas, either local or national. And also identify potential coalition partners. That could be people in the healthcare industry or organizations in the healthcare industry, parent groups, religious groups, moms groups, school groups, prenatal care, baby product companies, media, coalition partners that get the word out, that endorse, etc. Now, here you'll probably have a lot of local ones, and one of the things that you can be doing as part of the campaign is identifying local ones for local outreach. But right now, let us know everyone you have, local or national, so we can help reach out to them. Now, by the way, when I say our primary focus is in California, that's more of our institutional focus, where we're going to have a bunch of people on the ground, and we want to use the California initiative to propel greater awareness. But at the same time, we are going to support the outreach nationally. So just because you don't live in California doesn't mean you're not going to participate if you want to. All right, so here's some activities that you can do to participate. And on the page on our website, you can indicate how you want to participate. So I'm just going to go through these quickly, because most people will figure out where they want to participate by when I mention something very quickly through this list. If you may want to contribute to our materials as an artist, writer, editor, filmmaker, or do research like what we've already asked, names of organizations, publications, doctors, media. We want a team, and I would like to get a number of people in this team to help us and our filmmakers select images to illustrate the dialogue and narration. So if a doctor is saying, for example, there's a lot of autism and allergies and ADHD and ADS and ADD going on in the United States, and I think it's really based on our food, we don't want to be watching the doctor the whole time, especially if 2 or 3 doctors say the same thing. We want to cut away to photos, video images, reports, graphs, etc. So we want like a video SWAT team, a video image SWAT team. And if you would like to do this, please sign up for this, because we want to have a single email address that will go to all of you. We'll send you a short dialogue or a part of our narration that we want for the film, and then you'll send us a bunch of images that you can get on your own off of the website, or URLs that you think would be helpful. This would be very, very good for us. Now, I want to just get a show of hands, because this is so important to me, because we're creating this video this month. If you'd like to be part of that rapid action video image search team, raise your hand so I could just see that we have some. Okay, we have, oh good, good. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent. This is really important. This will help us even more. 7. This will help us a lot. Okay, I'm putting the hands down. All right. Now, phase 1 also, if you have video clips, some of you may have video cameras, and you may want to shoot a picture of a baby eating or yourself giving a quote or something like that. And as Bob said earlier, he was a medic in the military. We would like to receive supportive quotes, and ideally with photos of you. It's not necessary, but those quotes can be used in articles and brochures. And so you can put the quote right into a box on our website there, or if you prefer, you can email it to margarita@responsibletechnology.org, and I'll give you her address later in a few minutes. So if you joined us late, I'm talking about a URL on our website, responsibletechnology.org/baby food. You won't get that anywhere else. You'll have to go direct. It's not linked from our website. It's just for your feedback. Creative ideas. Now this is an interesting one. You've already started to do this. We're looking for ideas and designs for posters, bumper stickers, buttons, slogans, billboards, and T-shirts. And I just got a few more choice examples here. Okay, babies grow GMO-free. Okay, I just heard from Lori. We're creating a video content lending library in the food movement. Fantastic. Lori, be in touch with us. and let us know exactly what that means and how to get involved with it. That is terrific, Laura. Thank you. For anyone being used in the food movement, it's going to have a video library. So we're going to want to get a full list of all the things available for that video library. It could bring us along very quickly. Thank you, Lori. Let us know in your feedback how we can reach you. All right. Optimal participation materials for children. This is not going to be the focus of our staff. We can act as a distribution point, but we don't have the manpower to create materials specifically for children. But many of you may already have. And so if you'd like to do that, you're most welcome. Indicate to us. I'm just curious if you'd like to raise your hand so I can see if there's anyone here who's going to take that step. Anyone? I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and some people, okay, I got one person who happens to be on our staff, another person, okay, we got another person, good, thank you, Cherub. All right, now I was thinking of slogans, what slogans can we speak to children about or to parents, and then videos, books, posters, and songs, etc., all for kids. Now, after we created materials, or as we're polishing them up, in your area, you have an opportunity to organize events, tours, and meetings, to fundraise, and you can introduce us to the celebrities, media, and contacts once we have information to give them. We don't need introductions. I mean, we can certainly know that you have a celebrity, media, or key contact to introduce us to. We can let us know that today, but we won't actually get in touch with anyone until we have more materials that are polished to show them what it is that we're looking for. So these are some of the ways that you can participate. If you see anything that you like, let us know on the feedback form on site. For phase 3, when we're actually doing the campaign, you can do individual and group presentations. You can contact potential distribution partners, including healthcare practitioners, organizations, media. We will have the video available for public access TV, so you can get a DVD from us and then bring it over to your local access and have it played. We'll have PSAs for your local community radio station, etc. You can leaflet at events and locations. And we will have a activities for participation handout, which we've started to create. Here's some examples. You can read it on the screen. You can look at that as I look at some more of your questions. Okay, now Lori, don't give me your contact information over here, because as soon as I turn off the webinar, it's going to disappear. You got to do it a different way. All right. I feed my baby real food. It doesn't need a patent. All right. Someone here is working celebrity contacts. Fantastic. Someone's working on a website. Heal You Naturally. Great. All right. So we're going to the next, another phase 3 activities. Posting articles and links. Bob already mentioned he passes everyone on his email address book. We would really love to have some click and send revolutionaries to pass things along, to blog, or even to comment on blogs so that they become more engaging. For those that love to do social media, we want a social media rapid action team for this campaign and also in general. So I would like to see a show of hands for how many of you would really love to plug in as a kind of a social media rapid action team where we say, okay, we're going to be doing this posting soon. We want to make sure it gets forwarded and people dig it or whatever they do with it. Raise your hand if you happen to be one of those social media jockeys. Okay, we've got 3, 4, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so one of our staff members, Michelle, is listening, and she's very happy to hear that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7 or 8 right now. I mean, you will be certainly engaged with this because we're now upgrading our social media capacity and would love to have you. All right, getting on to the next. Marches, rallies, pickets, and figuring out how we can do Occupy Baby Food. I'm going to show you some fun pictures now of some attention-getting visuals. And I'd like you to, when you look at these, enjoy them, but realize we can do anything we want locally, and if the more visual impacting it is, the greater chance it will be picked up in TV and print media. And so Greenpeace has been brilliant at getting print media all over the world. Now here's one that I love. Baby dolls, holding up signs against GMOs. I think it's in Germany or Switzerland. And this is a Greenpeace thing, and this can easily be done. It just means buying a lot of baby dolls. And it's a great visual. And you can probably create a beautiful video from it too. There's a group in Chicago, or there used to be there, called THONG, Topless Humans Organized for Natural Genetics. The next 3 slides are rated R. If you have your kids there and you don't want them to see, I'll let you know when it's no longer rated R. It's got some body parts. This is THONG, Topless Humans Organized for Natural Genetics. They created a whole running program in Chicago. Here's some new UK protesters getting a lot of attention in front of a GM-fed dairy. And here is an actual billboard in New Zealand put out by MADGE, which is their mother's group. It was highly controversial, and it did the work it needed to do. Okay, so if you finished with the rated R, so if you want to come back to your screen, we have no more R-rated. Now someone is saying, no, make it normal. Normal people don't marginalize the movement. Yes, so something like this with the street puppets in theater and the pierced faces and the tattoos and the things you see in Occupy, you know, that could give us the wrong image. You know, we want, maybe it's 100 mothers with strollers or baby carriages doing a parade somewhere. So we have to be, you know, you want to think, thank you for that comment, Nancy, you want to think what would be an appropriate image to give out so that it makes sense and that it's picked up. Okay, someone gave it a slogan on the chat: "Don't sell them, don't buy them." It's a way to pressure local groceries. They're buying them to sell, so we need to turn around and get back up the chain, get them to stop buying them, so they won't be on their shelves. They'll say consumer demand won't let them stop selling GM foods, but the point is to change the manufacturer, not permanently stop selling these products. Okay. Some more visual images that make good theater. McDonald's. There's Ronald McDonald being arrested. You can't pay for that. Here's Greenpeace dressed up in hazmats. Okay, and they put a beautiful. They scaled a silo with genetically modified pharmaceutical corn that had contaminated soybeans and wrote, "This is your food on drugs." New Zealand, they have a GM-free register with an 8-kilometer line around people's lawns or fields that want to be GM-free. There was a parade to support GM Vermont bills, etc. If you have any ideas for eye-catching events, you can write them up. Someone said, I have tattoos and piercings, mother of 27 children. Yes, we want to go to everyone. We just want to reach out to the variety of things, but not marginalize the movement nationally. Okay, if anyone has any ideas for eye-catching events that they were inspired by watching these or things, you're welcome to enter it into the chat or raise your hand and I'll call on you. And we can think of some ways that we can get some free media. I don't see any hands raised, so I'll go to the next one and you can always enter it into the chat. Now, how do you form a local group or expand your existing group? That is generally done through events. We create a film or a speaker program and you gather the names. So you can use the videos like our video Hidden Dangers in Kids' Meals or any of the other videos we have. It's good to have fun meetings so that you grow in numbers. Oftentimes people have non-GMO potlucks and restaurants and things like that. You can also use our non-GMO tipping point network. Now you probably want to write this address down, or it's margarita@responsibletechnology.org, and that Margarita is spelled the Italian way. And if you speak to Margarita, you'll know why. She's Italian, and she's the one that if you want to find others in your area, email her. She'll look up in our database for people that have already signed up to be part of the Tipping Point Network and put you in touch with them. All right? We will have a little manual or some tips how to increase the local group members to people soon. We'll have that available soon. Now, How many of you use Facebook? Please raise your hand. It's populating. Let's see. It looks like half or more. All right. I'm going to take the hands down. How many of you have ever used forums? Raise your hand if you use forums. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and about 16. Okay. How many are part of a GMO group already? Raise your hand. Okay, not the majority. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 13 or 14. All right. We're going to reconvene, by the way, with a second webinar on January 24th, which is also a Tuesday. And January 10th is a meeting specifically for healthcare practitioners. We're also forming a non-GMO healthcare practitioner national group. So you guys, whether you know it or not, are the sort of the start of a national group for outreach to parents and specifically for Baby Food and Infant Formula campaign, if you'd like to be part of that. And we're also going to create a national outreach group for healthcare practitioners. And then on the 24th, those practitioners that want to be part of this campaign will join you on the call. Some are already on the call. So someone mentioned I'm a fan of the Non-GMO Project on Facebook. Yes, Non-GMO Project is an excellent group. Someone someone said, for those who are artistically inclined, picture this on a t-shirt, GM equals gut monsters with a box of cereal trying to attack children's tummy. Nice. And let me see. What type of practitioner? Healthcare practitioners. So we're going to open, I think that within the healthcare practitioner world, that we have a range: dietitian, nutritionist, Chinese doctor, chiropractor, integrative pediatrician. Thank you very much for that, Arlene. Others. And so I think everyone can form the healthcare practitioner group, and then there will be subgroups within that for outreach to those groups, so that the Chinese traditional medicine group will appeal to the Chinese traditional medicine practitioners. Idea for visual from Raina. Camera enters the classroom with children in total chaos, running around screaming, crying, climbing the furniture, and helpless teacher narration saying how these kids eat a normal diet of GMO meals with additional processed GMO snacks. Now enter a classroom with kids listening to the teacher, reading them to themselves, writing, your children eating organic, non-GMO foods. Did you know GMO foods cause ADD, ADHD, loss of focus, mood swings, and lack of behavior? The choice is easy. Well, that would be a very powerful video. It's a little too definite for our, in other words, it overstates what we know. We can't say as an organization it creates ADD and ADHD, but practitioners can say, in my experience, I believe that it does, and that's something that's very valid. That's something we'll be introducing as an institute for the first time into our materials. A lot more practitioners speaking about their experience. Thank you for that, Raina, and yes, it's something to that effect would be very good. Someone asked about Reiki energy workers or more mainstream. I would say anyone that does healthcare work, because if you have clients, then you're going to want to take advantage of our patient education materials and our other practitioner education materials and reach out to your peers. So whether you're a Reiki practitioner, energy practitioner, you're going to want to be part of, you're going to want to gather the materials and use the same kind of coalition gathering techniques that we're going to be using elsewhere. Okay, so I would like to hear now, we're done with the main portion of our slides. The rest is going to be some specific questions for you. So now I would like to invite you, especially those with microphones, to start. If you have comments or questions about the campaign, and I would love to hear from you right now. So raise your hand and I'll call on you if you have a question. Now, Tim Walters, I'm going to unmute you. Tim, I don't think you were able to speak before because you had no microphone.
I think I didn't have my mic plugged in.
Okay, now you do. I can hear you. Go ahead, Tim.
Thanks. One word I haven't heard throughout the whole webinar is Monsanto. I really want to go after those guys because they're the big player in all of this, and especially with the way they go in and take people's farms and their little spies that crawl around, and these people really need to stop.
Well, Tim, Monsanto is a big part of my vocabulary in normal circumstances. When I mentioned the talking points, I said the talking points are those in addition to the normal ones. The 5 components of a success of a GMO presentation for our strategic purposes start with the first category is discrediting the organizations that say GMOs are safe and discrediting in general. And those 2 primary targets are the FDA and Monsanto, in part because it's so easy to discredit them. There's so much information about Monsanto, how they rig research and get scientists fired and have promoted PCBs and Agent Orange, etc. So we have a very strong amount of data that will be part of our campaign, and certainly discrediting Monsanto and the FDA in terms of their position would be appropriate.
That sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you, Tim. Okay, I'll put you on mute. All right. Sam Simpson. Sam, go ahead.
No, I didn't.
You didn't raise your hand? Okay, I'm muting you again. All right. Sam is working with us on the campaign. Okay. Anyone else raise their hand and I'll call on you, or I'll start reading the Q&A. Okay. Anyone else? Jane, you sort of put your hand up and put it down. If you want me to call on you, keep it up, put it up again. All right. Yes, there you do. Okay. So, Jane Wilson, what is it? Jane, go ahead.
I typed in the question. I didn't know I had a mic. I just think that without laws enabling companies to change, we are butting up against a wall. So is there a plan for cultivating the no GMO political supporters? Because it was a change to the law for GE back in '78 that allowed the patenting of plants in the first place. So if we don't go after the law, we can't even deal with penalizing Monsanto or getting real food. And I think it goes way beyond even cleaning up our food, because you can't even get medicine without GMO in it. You can't get anything without GMO right now. So that was my question. What is the plan for?
Happy to answer that. I'm going to put you on mute because there's a slight feedback, so I'll put you on mute and come back to you in a minute. So Jane, this is related to a bigger discussion that I usually give at my talks about what we call the tipping point. We've done a strategic analysis of what it is that could end the genetic engineering in the food supply. And there's a lot of different avenues that can be taken. Legal is one, going to the courts. Another is creating new research that can show definitive changes. Another one would be trying to get new laws passed or the enforcement of existing laws. But we believe that the easiest way traditionally in the last decades or so to speak for getting rid of GMOs is to create a tipping point of consumer rejection. Now in Europe that happened very quickly. In January of 1999 the biotech industry was still projecting a 95% replacement of all commercial seeds within 5 years. 3 weeks after that prediction was made public, a gag order was lifted on Arpad Pusztai, a scientist in Scotland. Over 700 articles were written in the UK alone within a month. 10 weeks later, there was so much concern, especially in the UK, but also Europe-wide. Unilever publicly committed to stop using GM ingredients, and by the end of the week, so did almost everyone else. And that tipping point happened within a week, and it all happened 10 weeks after the gag order was lifted on the scientist, resulting in high-profile food safety issues in the news. Now, that's kept GMOs out of Europe. It hasn't been the laws. The laws do not prevent GMOs in the food supply. Some countries prevent the planting of GMOs, but no one in Europe No laws in Europe prevent it in the food supply. It's the companies that do. Likewise, in the U.S., bovine growth hormone has been kicked out of Walmart, Starbucks, Yoplait, Dannon, etc. And that's happened as a result of educating consumers about the health risks, especially moms. And that's taken a lot longer than the tipping point against GMOs in Europe because it didn't have the high-profile coverage. Now, we think that if people in craft food and other places see even a slight drop in market share, that they can attribute to an increase in resistance against GMOs in the U.S. market. Since they've already removed GMOs in their European brands and they know it can take off and spread rapidly, they're probably going to see that as kind of a sell signal. They're going to get rid of GMOs, and it'll happen quickly, and people will say they didn't know it was coming, no one predicted it, but of course we not only predicted it, but we're engineering it. So if we look at all of the different food companies in the country to see who are the companies that are most likely to switch to non-GMO who are currently GMO, well, the first phase is those that are non-GMO already brag about it. So that's the voluntary labeling non-GMO, and the non-GMO project has enrolled over 6,000 brands and has verified over 3,000. And we are going to be now eliminating the lists of products on our non-GMO shopping guide website that are just enrolled and not yet verified fairly soon, as they do the same thing in the non-GMO project. The second level are going to be companies that have very few GMOs in them, but realize that there's an opportunity to get rid of those in order to participate in the niche market that's growing. And then perhaps in the third phase, or similar to the second phase, there are going to be those companies that realize they are appealing to a particular demographic that's very sensitive. So you have companies like Kashi that's been basically using 100% GMO, selling it through Whole Foods and others. Everyone's thinking it's a natural food, but it's basically their soy is 100% GM soy. When they realize in order to sell to this targeted demographic that they're selling to, they have to switch. But this is where baby food comes in. If we can start getting parents concerned about baby food for their kids and infant formula and breakfast cereal, we're going to see that group switching very quickly because it's a very sensitive subject. So that could be like the lightning strike that goes across and gets changes. Now, that happens irrespective of laws, irrespective of court cases, and it means that we go against Monsanto and the FDA's weakness, which is consumer opinion, not against their strength, which they kind of own the courts in some cases. They own the politicians. They've got lots of money, and that's one of the reasons we're taking this campaign. Now, a shortcut to a tipping point is the California ballot initiative, where if that passes, a lot of the national companies that sell in California will either stop selling in California, but if they're big, they can't do that. They'll get rid of all GMOs. And so this will be the big watershed moment that we can create together. But if we use the ballot initiative process where all the energy and attention go on to GMOs, then if we also send messages about protecting babies from GMOs and other campaigns that we're going to launch that I'm not going to share with you yet because I don't want the spies to know about it, but we are going to see that the process of getting this bill passed, or this legislative initiative passed, will also drive the tipping point, and so both will be forcing companies to eliminate GMOs from the California experience. So, Jane, I'm taking you off mute if you want to add anything before we go on to the next.
Well, you make a lot of good points. I'm involved in the raw milk struggles, and I just find that so long as people can say, well, it's legal, then they're just believing they're getting protected by law. So that's all I wanted.
All right, thank you, Jane. And we handle that. See, since we're only going to we only need about 5% of U.S. shoppers to avoid GMOs, and we can go to the most receptive groups. It's very easy, actually, to convince people, because most Americans actually said they would avoid GMOs if they were labeled. So we have the majority on our side. Okay, so I've got some very long comments here that I'm going to go to. I want to read them fairly quickly because there's a lot of them, and we've got 4 more minutes until our hour is up. I will continue beyond it to get through all these, but I don't want to keep people beyond where they had committed to join us. I don't know what non-GMO groups are in the New York City area. Do you? Yes, we do. Talk to Margarita and email her at margarita@responsibletechnology.org. So this person says, I've been signers for Millions Against Monsanto, Truth in Labeling, doing it on my own. Yes, we have done a speaker training in Columbia University earlier this year, and we have some people in New York. So I got your point, Jane. I've been listening while I did some chores, so I didn't raise my hand too much for help. This is Kristen. I'll be thinking about good slogans and visuals. I'll pass them along. Both of my kids are well past infant. I think I misunderstood the synopsis of the webinar, but I've enjoyed it. Okay, cereal angle, he thinks is good. Very important to raise awareness of the very young children early. Very good. Okay, so you're welcome, Kristen. Raina, as perhaps pertains to the law, support Jim Geertsen. He's suing Monsanto right now to overturn their patents and get recompense for farmers. Yes, there's some good lawsuits going on, and Center for Food Safety is involved, and Phil Geertsen's involved also. I think it's Phil Geertsen. Pam Larry, thank you for joining the call. She's the founder of the Ballot Initiative in California. Going after parents could be her project. I love that it's time we stop asking what's being done by others and take up our own missions to affect change. Yes, Pam, you are a embodiment of not waiting for others to do it for you, to do it yourself, and this is exactly what we're doing. And now Nancy agrees that a small group of informed consumers will be the way it can go. Here's a question. Shop your vote on the plate. That's an interesting thing. Shop your vote. So like vote in the ballot box, vote at the supermarket. Good. Let reps know you care with your wallet. On another note, this is good news. Kucinich is speaking out. Allow consumers to make informed choices. I think he just introduced his bill again this week for mandatory labeling. It hasn't had any traction yet in all the different sessions he's introduced it, but this might push it over the edge, all of our work. So the question asked about Boulder, there's going to be a question. The answer to Boulder's banning GMOs in the county is going to happen on Thursday. All right. Here's from Jan. The powerful part of Jeffrey's presentation tells of how we need to elevate our human intelligence to that of animals, mice that did not eat GMO corn. Create an animation video that contrasts how we feed our children GMOs because we don't have the sense that mice have because we've been brainwashed by our media marketing. Very interesting idea, Jan. I know that the animals avoiding GMOs happens to be a very strong motivation for people believing that GMOs are unsafe. It's a part of both of my books, and if anyone has an animal feeder area in their back where they feed animals corn, if you want to get some GMO corn and you have a video camera and you can show that animals are avoiding GMOs, maybe you have a farm and you want to show with your cows or something, we've got GM corn and non-GM corn that we can send you. We also have some soy. We would like to get that in video. But this idea of contrasting animals with children, that's something new, and I haven't thought about that. Thank you. Okay, here's another one. Trusting our Congress to protect our food supply hasn't worked. This is from Sam. The companies listen to parents. Currently, Beechnuts has noted GMOs due to parents' concerns. ConAgra states ultimately consumers will decide what is acceptable. Kraft uses GMOs in the U.S. because people aren't concerned, but in Europe, Kraft knows the general public doesn't want GM ingredients, and so Kraft doesn't use them there. That's actually a quote from Kraft. Thank you, Sam. Raina, so do we need to get someone's in the media on our side and keep writing into the papers and networks to demand coverage of this issue? We get a meeting with Oprah. You were on Dr. Oz. If Oprah read your book and had you on, she may deliver this message regarding babies. Well, Oprah's no longer giving her Oprah Winfrey show. She's got a network, but we do want celebrity spokespeople. This would be a fantastic opportunity for people like Meryl Streep and others to get involved. If you have any connections, you know, through third cousins, relatives, friends, whatever, we could use them to try and get to those people. As far as trying to get to the media, we have a publicist. We'll have doing press releases, and the events that we're talking about could be very helpful. Someone said, Nancy, excellent strategy, great work, you guys. Thank you very much, Nancy. Here comes Robert. How about creating a persuasive DVD presentation that can be downloaded, burned, and copied free by participants and shared everywhere? That's exactly what we're going to be doing. We may not be able to download the DVD presentation at high res, because that might take too much bandwidth, but we might be able to do that. We certainly will make it available for free on our site, and we may sell DVDs that you can make as many copies of, just like we do now with everything you have to know about dangerous genetically modified foods. So that is in our plan. Another person, Has to go beyond animals to humans. Many people don't believe or want to believe that lab rats and humans will be equally affected. But any farm animal, for that matter, this has been my experience speaking in urban areas. So this is where the incredible quotes from practitioners. We have really good practitioner quotes, saying, when I take my patients off of GMOs, they get better. Or I've seen that patients that don't eat GMOs don't suffer from the kind of inflammation and chronic disease that we're seeing. Okay. Someone said that there's a big stone wall in the media. Yes, the major media is really a stone wall, but we have to figure out fun ways to get through it. Who owns Beechnut? I don't know. Good question, Karen. They're also compromised, but I'm connected. All right. So, so Karen did find out who owns Beechnut. You'll let us know. All right. So that's all the questions, and that's all the time. But we have a couple of hands raised. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the hands down. If you still have a question, we'll take a couple more minutes to answer your questions by microphone now. If anyone has a question or a comment, I've heard some good comments. Anyone comments or questions? I'm particularly interested also, think about this, and you can write your answers back in our website page, which is responsibletechnology.org/babyfood. How do we help moms that can't afford even to pay for their own infant formula, and how do we help all moms? You see, there's going to be a period of time before we create the tipping point within the baby food industry, before the three major baby food or infant formula companies switch to non-GMO, where moms are going to realize that maybe the mom can't breastfeed, maybe she's adopted her daughter and can't breastfeed, and they only have, GMO infant formula available through WIC. Now, you can make your own infant formula. There's things online for that, but that's tricky. So, if anyone has any ideas for that, please share it with us, because we know that we're going to be creating an alarm and fear and sadness among a part of the population, and we do want to alert them. We do want them to do whatever they can to protect their kids. We'd love to support them as well. So looks like Beechnut is a privately owned company. Thank you, Sam. There was a local story about BPA and canned Thanksgiving food, and it got tons of local media in the Twin Cities. Thank you, Nancy. So local foods, local media, we have much more power in the local media than the national media. And so we can create local templates for local press releases and stuff that you can then insert your local group and your local name and have a lot better media coverage than we can get nationally. So Jane says, I support this great avenue for success because of the heightened concern of our children. Support all efforts, for it is true that consumers can change supply. The more we ask our grocers to bring in non-GMO, the easier it will be for us to find them, and labeling will be crucial for that. Caution, there is what we see with organic labeling, so it's good to have lists. Thank you all. Thank you, Jane. Lori, very good point, how to help those who can't afford whole, non-compromised foods. This is a very important topic. Yes, it is, Lori. I'm aware when I give talks, I'm sometimes speaking to people that may have very great difficulty getting non-GMO because they're in school, or sometimes they go to prison and they have no choice, or they're in a food desert. Here's a question here. In New York City for WIC moms, group co-ops that will take orders and drive upstate to get gallons of fresh raw milk. There's a farm an hour and a half from the city, and the milk is only $2.25 a gallon. Very interesting. Lori's doing a price analysis to prove the prices on many GM foods are not that different from organic alternatives. Have to be very choosy about what foods you avoid, what brands you go organic if you do processed foods. Lori, give us that information. We'll put it into our materials. Okay, and Michael, helping moms maybe work with farmers markets to accept food stamps or WIC vouchers. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Lori, for getting us that information. All right, I've been speaking very fast, and the reason I have is because when I've done these before, I haven't been able to keep up with the questions and the feedback, but I think we've covered it. And I want to just scan one more time for hand raised. Tim, you raised your hand. Do you have any more points? We're about to end.
Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey. If anyone has Netflix, there's a lot of good documentaries on there that deal with the GMOs and related subjects, and perhaps we should consider joining forces with the beekeepers, because I believe a lot of the lost bee colonies in recent years has been due to GMOs as well.
It's a great idea, and the thing is, Tim, I'm going to put you back on mute. The thing is, we want to join forces with all these different groups But this is a particular, for tonight, the campaign is focused on babies and children, and when we want to talk about environmental pieces, we can talk with them. But in general, if they want to stop GMOs because of what they may be contributing towards the bee population, they're probably already in touch with us and already working with us. But absolutely, we want coalitions all over the place. So Lori and others are saying, great job, thank you for what you're doing. We are very excited. I want to tell you that I've been wanting to focus on baby food for a long time, and we can do breakfast cereal as well. I think we want to, I've heard that, 2 or 3 people said it, and we've also raised it in our group, but it wasn't represented in this presentation, but I think we need to specifically make sure it is, because breakfast cereal is a good point. You know, we want to get Tony the Tiger to be non-GMO. So I look forward to working with you all. Again, please go to the feedback page. Let us know how you want to be involved. There's plenty of opportunities. We'll get together again in January with the whole group, but for those that want to get involved, for those that want to help in preparation of materials, for those that want to give us quotes, that want to do video, image searching, etc., we'll certainly be in touch before then. Mike, staff, we've got 4 staff on the call today that in addition to me will be sorting through your names and opportunities. And the other thing is this, I always say this to groups, do not wait for us if you're inspired to do something. Do not wait for us. We don't want you to hold back. We don't think that you need us to give permission or the go to be involved in anti-GMO activity. However, with respect to doing outreach to pediatricians and to organizations, etc., it would be wiser to wait for inviting them to join this campaign until our campaign materials are prepared, because we then we may only have one shot to present it to them, and we want to give them the best shot. All right, so I want to thank the SPIES for joining us, and hopefully you'll be non-GMO, as some of the people in Monsanto for sure are not eating GMO, because we know that from insiders. So hopefully you'll stop eating GMOs as well. And I'd like to just share with you, I'm getting lots of thank yous, so you're most welcome for everything that we're doing. We're very, very excited about what's happening in this country right now. The level of attention is simply amazing. So I'm going to end the webinar now, and we'll see you all very soon, and hopefully we'll be enjoying a non-GMO food supply very soon. So thank you all.